Hello, everybody. This is Mitchell, one half of the duo from Real World Recovery, and I am here with my good friend Russ. We're going to be doing a little interview here, finding out, how he got here, where he plans on going from here, and, just how he's making it through this life in the real world. Russ, how the heck are you?
Doing good. Again, it's very cold this morning, so moving slow and turning on every space heater I have in the house. But doing well. Excited for my last day of internship for the semester. I'll be going back to the same place for my internship next semester, but
Okay.
I get a 5-week vacation,
Yeah.
so that'll be really nice. Apparently, when you're an adult, they give you a whole month and a half off for winter break, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a little wild. Um, what program are you in there?
I'm in the Human Services program right now at Madison College with the intention to continue on to become a substance abuse counselor.
Oh, there you go. Is that a 1 year, 2 year, 4 year program?
The associate's degree that I'm in right now is 2 years, but to go on to fully become a substance abuse counselor would be, I think, closer to 6 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in a similar program myself, but I don't know that I want to focus on AODA. I haven't come to that bridge yet, but I do want to get into actual counseling. So yeah, I'm in the psychology program myself now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about how it is you ended up in recovery? A little bit of
Well, because I'm a drug addict, that's all. Well, really, my life became utterly unmanageable enough times that I stuck with it this time.
Mm-hmm.
This was not my first round in recovery. I first got clean in Rockford back in 2015. I went through a 30-day inpatient program down at Rosecrans. Which was wonderful for me. That's the only time I've done inpatient for myself, but it worked. Granted, I went back out, right, but I still draw a lot of my resources and experience from that time to apply to my life today. So it wasn't given away, but so I got clean in Rockford. I stayed down there for a couple of years, got a foundation of recovery, and then like a proper addict, thought I was better than that town, moved back here and quit doing any recovery. So that worked for a while, right? It didn't immediately go south, but when things did start going south, I had stopped going to meetings. I had stopped talking to my sponsor. I had stopped doing anything recovery. I had just decided to try and be a normal person. So when life got unmanageable again, when people around me passed away, when life wasn't going the way I wanted to, I didn't reach back out to anybody in recovery because I had essentially cut those ties a long time ago. So I reached back out to that comfortable, familiar misery that would get rid of the bad feelings I didn't want to feel at the time, and in my addict mind justified I can deal with what comes later. I just need to not feel what I'm feeling now. But as anybody who's relapsed knows, that's not how that went. It immediately got really, really bad. I ended up totaling a few cars, destroying the relationship I was in, damaging a lot of other relationships with my family that I had spent so many years rebuilding. And then I woke up in jail in solitary in Dane County jail because I had thought it was a bright idea to assault a CO when I got arrested because I didn't get the results I wanted when I made my phone call. So coming to in Dane County jail, withdrawing off the substances I was withdrawing, pretty much having a seizure. That was the wake-up call that I needed this time to really start doing something different. It took a couple days out of jail, like a proper addict. I was injured. I justified feeling the way that I was feeling so I could go get more and use. But then it was 3 days after I got out. God bless my mom. She knew me better than I knew myself and knew I wasn't going to reach out for help still. So she called my old sponsor. And he actually, yeah, right. Adorable my mom is. He actually came up here with another old friend from Rockford because I had totaled a vehicle when I went into jail and had a broken sternum and was just sickly and withdrawing and couldn't really move. They were coming up here from Rockford, Illinois. They came up here a few times to just sit with me and have meetings in my apartment with me and try and help me get back into recovery. And that was the beginning of me coming back around in this round of recovery where I've stayed clean for coming up on 4 years now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yep,
Ah,
4 years at the beginning of March.
oh, okay. Yeah, not that I'm not that far behind. It doesn't matter. I'm clean today, and that's all that's important.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: was that the ultimate kind of like? Was there just a moment of pure clarity where you were like, okay, I'm ready to do literally whatever it takes? Or was it still like once they came up here, they still had to kind of talk you into it? Or was it, just like a nope, I'm done?
I still needed to be talked into it. I knew I was done with the misery. I knew I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. But I still had that fear of giving up the drugs. But once they started coming around, once my sponsor was talking to me every day, I had a couple other friends from Rockford who found out I relapsed and were just calling me every single day. It was that unconditional love that they expressed to me, and none of the shame and guilt that I was putting on myself. They weren't putting any of that on me. So that's what drew me back.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, what are some things you do now to kind of stay active in your recovery?
I have regular meeting attendance. It's not every single day. It was in the beginning for sure, but now I'm more committed to just doing something for my recovery every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a meeting a few days a week for sure, but I read recovery literature every single day. I keep a gratitude journal, like a physical gratitude journal, not just one that I think in my head every day. A physical gratitude journal has made a huge positive impact on my life. I'm normally a pessimistic, petty little asshole. So keeping a gratitude journal has definitely helped me rewire my brain to focus on the things I have instead of the things I don't like about the world. But going to meetings, working on my steps with my sponsor, and regularly talking to them, sponsoring other gentlemen in the program has been a huge help. Service has been a huge part of my recovery.
Sure.
I had to dial it back in because, again, I'm an addict, so I was doing way too much. Because one service commitment feels good, then 10 feels great, right? No, it does not. I was burning myself out and not really focusing on my recovery. So I'm at the point now where I have one service position. I sponsor gentlemen in the program. I work with my sponsor, and I'd be present at events so I can stay plugged into the community. So I'm not just one of those people who shows up for my anniversary or for special events, but nobody really knows who I am, and I don't really know anybody. It's important for me to be plugged into a community of recovering people for me to stay clean.
Okay. So, as you're moving towards doing the like more unprofessional, pure led stuff, like sponsoring and going to the events towards the more professional end of clinical, recovery. Do you find yourself finding some of that satisfaction in the work that you're doing? For people who are struggling in like a clinical setting?
I do. It is a different, excuse me. It is a different feeling going in there in a professional setting because I've never been paid to do any of this stuff. It's always
Well, you're
been
still not, but
service work. Well, you're right. Technically, I'm not as an intern. I'm getting paid in experience,
yeah. How's that feel?
but it feels all right. It might feel nicer to get paid down the road, and I know that's coming, right?
Hmm.
But it feels good. I get to go instead of punch a clock and make somebody else more money than I'm making and doing something that I hate doing just so I can get by to my next paycheck or my next bill that's due. I get to go in and help people. I get to feel good about what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I get to feel like I'm contributing to my community and society around me instead of taking away from it like I did for so many years before I got clean.
Hmm.
It feels good. This is the first time I've ever had a job, and I don't even get paid for this one, where I enjoy going there. I feel good when I leave. I don't dread the hours I have to put in there because it's just something I have to do. This is something I get to do.
Right. Yeah, I remember that feeling. uh Never mind. So
You'll have it again. Don't worry.
yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. That's why I'm going back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. How is school going? Like, how is that? How are you maintaining your relationship with recovery and maintaining the school thing? Does it have some sort of effect on your ability to put as much effort into one or the other as you would like?
It hasn't put a hindrance on my recovery. Thankfully, I'm in class with a lot of other people in recovery, given the field that I'm in.
Sure.
One of my closest friends and a sponsee is in the same program as me, so we've been going through it together. So it's honestly just been something that's become intertwined with my recovery.
Mm.
And I mean, the gratitude journal thing, that was a assignment from my first semester of last year. And I picked it just being a petty little, thinking this will be something easy I can do. I can just pass my class and get my homework done. But I actually did it and stuck with it. And before the end of the assignment was done, I was just felt good doing it and got excited having more things on my list every day and being more focused on gratitude instead of what I don't have. And it just has become intertwined as part of my recovery.
I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that that's becoming a thing for you. Do you think that you see a point where doing recovery as a job will kind of overtake your need to go to like meetings and events and all that other fun stuff?
Probably.
Fun.
That's definitely a thought I've had and discussions I've had with my sponsor and other people I know in recovery who are in recovery and work in that field. I have heard a lot of people say, my meeting attendance didn't stay so high because I was doing so much recovery stuff throughout the day. And I understand that too. It's important not to burn out. And that's why I've always committed to just doing something for my recovery every day. It doesn't have to be a meeting. It's just got to be something. So even if it's just a phone call to another person in the program, if it's sitting and doing my readings, if it's calling my sponsor and letting them know how my day went, all of those things can apply. But yeah, no, I can imagine. And after doing recovery stuff for 40 hours in a week, I'm not going to want to go sit at a meeting at the end of my Friday shift. But I'll still attend meetings. I'll still be part of the fellowship because I know the benefit and I know my need to be plugged into that community.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. When I was doing working, it was hard. It was hard to want to go to a meeting because then your fresh clients are all in there. It's just like, oh man. But I wonder to myself about becoming a counselor or therapist and then having to see clients out in the real world, what that is actually going to be like, because I know that every time I've seen like a therapist or like social worker or somebody out in the road, they're like
Yeah, that
because
is a
HIPAA's a
common trait.
thing, and you don't want to lose your license.
Right.
So
You always
anyway,
got to let them approach you is the rule.
yeah. Let's see. So, what are some things in your life that really kind of make you feel like frustrated? What are some things that, come up where you're just like, man, this just really gets my goat and, kind of challenges you in ways that, um, I know your recovery strong. It's not like you're going to relapse, but starts to give you that, like, is this even worth it feeling almost? Do you know what I mean?
Um, Not really, if I'm being honest. I mean, there's things that frustrate me. Life is far from perfect, right? But
Sure.
it's been a long time since I've had any feeling of, is any of this worth it? Um, it's genuinely been a long time since I've had that sensation. There's times I don't want to go to meetings. There's certainly groups that I don't go to, right? Because they've just annoyed me to the point that I don't want to go to those groups, which, they clearly work for other people. It's me that's the problem going in there. Um, but I really don't have anything that upsets me so much to the point where I want to use or where I question being in recovery. It's given me everything I've wanted and so much more. So
So,
I
well,
do my
then
best not to question that anymore.
let me rephrase this. Then, what are some things that get you frustrated in like an epic way? And then, what are the things what tools do you use to kind of combat that? How do you bring yourself back to center when it's just like, oh man, for me, it's like driving because nobody out there knows how to drive, as you know.
Well, you just kind of triggered something. My lack of driving infuriates me to no end. I want to drive so badly. I put it off for a while. I should be driving now. It's my own laziness and lack of really knowing what to do in that situation as to why I'm still currently not driving. But it does piss me off. It does it does make me want to, and as you've heard, want to just drive without my license, which doesn't always pan out well. Doesn't always work out for me, as you know. You wrote me a letter for that.
Good.
You did. Thank you for that.
My
Um,
pleasure, man. I'll write you another one. Just let me know.
all right, I will keep that in mind. The things I do to deal with all of that frustration, meditation helps a lot. And I'm somebody who has practiced it enough. I don't need a long time to meditate. I can do some breathing exercises, some box breathing, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just brings me into the moment. For me, meditation, I struggled with for a long time until these wonderful Buddhist monks in Rockford presented to me that meditation is just about bringing yourself into the present moment. It's not about any extra stuff that a lot of people put onto it. It's simply bringing yourself into right now because this is all that's real. And I could wrap my mind around that. So when I'm freaking out about all the extra stuff that I really have no control over, when I do my breathing exercises, when I meditate, when I pull out my gratitude journal and write some stuff in there, even when I don't want to, brings me back to present, brings me back to center, and allows me to focus on what I can do instead of what I'm upset about.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that for you.
Doesn't always work. I realize I said that like I'm some Zen Buddhist master who can just crap out serenity. I can't. Sometimes I do those things and I'm still just angry and pissed off. And at those points, I call my sponsor. I call somebody who I know I can talk to who's going to allow me to get whatever shit is pissing me off and festering inside of me, because usually that's the problem, is I'm holding on to something and I'm not just accepting the world as it is and moving forward.
Sure.
Sometimes I need to just call somebody and get my shit out.
Yeah, venting is very underrated, and I think that any relationship that you can have with another person where there can be that moment where somebody just goes off for 15 minutes about whatever it is, and then it's like, you know what, I feel better. And like,
Mhm.
there's like a judgment-free space. Thankfully, many of my friends are
Right.
good for that. You know, I try not to rant, but yeah, I definitely have it in me. I don't think I've heard you rant in quite a while, but we haven't seen each other much lately, which is unfortunate. But
It is. We should change that.
yeah, well, you got to quit getting COVID.
Well, there's that. It wasn't COVID, actually. I got the
Okay.
results back after I texted you that. So I was just sick.
You're just sick. Well, you can keep that to yourself. I appreciate that. Although, sending Liz in as a plant last week was kind of clever. I thought for
Yeah.
sure. I thought for sure I was gonna get sick. I was like, oh, this just isn't fair. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What are some things in your relationship with your wife that, I've been married. I've been in many long-term relationships. There are things that will drive you nuts about the other person sometimes. How do you cope with those without feeling any sort of, because a lot of people out there, one of the number one things that people run into is relationship stuff. So like, what are some things you do to mitigate that? And like, how do you bring your relationship back to center when you're feeling away?
We talk. Thankfully, we are both in recovery. I know some people have differing opinions on being with another person in recovery. I think for us, it works out really well. We can both tell each other to call our fucking sponsor when we get a little too in our ism. But the main thing is communication, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's stuff we don't necessarily want to talk about. It's important to have that communication.
Mhm.
That's what allows us to move forward, is the willingness to talk about things.
Yeah. I mean, that's good advice for people who aren't in recovery.
Yeah, no, any human being in the world, in any relationship, communication is key.
It's true. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where you think you're communicating effectively and then it turns out you're not, but you don't understand that until you've like had to be forced to be outside of yourself in some of those moments. And I think that's one of the things that recovery has taught me, is that I was not nearly as effective a communicator as I thought I was.
Right?
Both like, you know, yeah, in relationships and in real life, it's really easy to just continuously spout off what you think to be true without ever actually listening to somebody else. And listening, I think, is the biggest part about effective communication, actually hearing each other and what each other are trying to say. So,
Yep. Listening to hear instead of listening to respond is a skill that takes practice.
yeah. Do you still have did you create any issues with your family when you were using, and do you still have any of those issues? Have people
No, I never did that. Yes, I did. I created so many problems in every avenue of my life, especially with my family. It took a long time for me to create problems with my family, and it wasn't really until the last few months of my using, before I got clean the first time. I always made enough money on my own to support my habit until the end. So my family, they were sad about what I was doing. They saw I was slowly killing myself, but I didn't really do any damage until the end, when I couldn't afford my using anymore, and my illegal businesses had dried up, and I had turned to stealing from my family to support my habit. And that's when I really started causing problems. At that point, that's when I went into treatment. And then they saw the extent of the things I had taken. And that took some time to rebuild that. I didn't have a relationship with my dad for first 3 or 4 years that I was clean. We didn't talk. I was living with him before I went into treatment, so of course he got the brunt of my addiction and my frustration and
Sure.
the end of it, right? Which is always the ugliest part of it.
Yeah.
So I did cause problems there, but that was the extent of the damage I caused with my family. So now I mean, as you know, right, when I got clean this time, when me and my wife got clean, I had already rebuilt some of that relationship. He knew I was struggling again, but because I had done all the work the previous years, he was willing to let us live in his house, right? So it came from working the steps, if I'm being honest. That's what I did. I worked on myself. I accepted I had a problem. I accepted I needed help. I accepted that help. I worked on myself and I amended my behavior, and then I went and made amends to my family members directly. That's a huge part of it, because also now I don't have to hold on to that shame and guilt that I held on to about myself for so long, because I've taken the action and done something to right the wrongs of my past. Now I have a healthy relationship with all of my family members. I mean, shit, my dad left the country with me in charge of his house and all of his stuff. So
imagine.
I mean, no, when he said he was doing that, I pinched myself to see if I was dreaming. Because it was only a couple years prior to that, he changed his locks and changed the code to his garage and made sure there was no way I could come around. So to have my dad love and trust me and all of these things come back is amazing. And again, one of those daily reminders as to why I should keep doing the things I've been doing.
Yeah. It was amazing to me how, maybe not quickly, but how willing people were to hear me out after I like put in the work and was showing my work. You know what I mean? Where it was like clear that the behaviors had changed. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful for your dad too. You know, because he's helping you along in a way that I cannot. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. It's early, allegedly, in my opinion.
I get it. I rolled out of bed, I think, 4 minutes before we got on this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the one who wanted to do it so early, so.
Well, you said morning, and like last time you picked 8, so.
Well, I just want to have enough time for you because you have to go to work or to work. You know, I don't want, you know, it to come up against some sort of imaginary wall. I used Zoom for the first one. And there was a timer up in the corner. It's like, okay, the timer's ticking down and you only have this much time. And we can sit here and talk about nothing for some hours, and I can edit it down into something functional. You know what I mean? So that's not the issue. I just wanted, you know, enough time for you to say whatever, you know, you felt you needed to say, as I talk a lot here. So what are some things besides your you know, your path to becoming a licensed therapist, a licensed AODA counselor? What are some other goals that you've set for yourself since you've gotten clean?
Well, the biggest one that I had tackled before this was getting my physical health in order. That was something I didn't take care of for a long time. I wasn't able to in active addiction. And then what kind of put me back into my last relapse was getting injured at the job I had, having back surgery, using that as an excuse to propel my relapse and getting unhealthy again. So after I got clean this last time around, I think I gained almost 100 pounds because I wasn't doing the drugs I was doing, so I had an appetite again. But I was also depressed. I wasn't taking care of my mental health, so food was a coping mechanism. I mean, shit, that was my first drug of choice before I discovered like drugs. So I turned to that comfortable thing of sugar and food that tastes good and makes me happy, but really isn't healthy for me in any sort of way. So that was a big goal of mine, was for me to get my physical health back in order, to drop that weight, to start eating healthy. So this last year and a half now, I've been very committed to intermittent fasting, keeping my calories where they're supposed to, cutting out a lot of unhealthy things. So I stopped drinking soda of any fashion. I barely have any processed sugar. I do have a cheat day once a week, so I will have sugar that day. But for the most part, I've cut all that out. I've now gotten myself a gym membership so I can start going to the gym and exercising because it's cold out. So that's been the real commitment, and it's been working, right? So I've lost about 85 pounds. I eat fruits and vegetables every single day, which was something I didn't do for a long period of my life.
I mean, that's good for keeping away the scurvy.
Yeah, no, my wife will 100% agree with that statement. Fruits and vegetables keep away scurvy. But it's been good because I feel better. My joints don't hurt so much. I can jog. Right, there was years without like police chasing me that I was willing to run for anything, and now I can go for a jog with my dog if I want to.
Yeah.
My physical health has been like the big, huge project that I've been undertaking, and that recovery has allowed me to do.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've found it amazing how many like mental things that kind of stopped occurring when I started working on my fitness. You know, I kind of got to a similar point myself, as you are well aware, and so it's been fantastic to see you lose all the weight that you've lost, and you know, see you get healthy. That may or may not have affected my decision to do it. So, you know, go you.
Likewise, my friend.
It's easier to it's easier to do things like that when you see results. I'm like
Right.
I'm on the fence as to whether or not I post another 4 months later picture on Facebook. Although I'm kind of curious to take one and look at it because it's just wild to see how different I look from April, you know.
Right.
And you've got to feel much the same way because you've been doing it longer than that, haven't you?
It's been about a year and a half I've been doing it.
Yeah. Man. I don't know how you fast though.
Took practice.
Yeah, because I'm like,
it was not easy at first.
I'm starving all the time, and you know, I know that I can count the calories. I know where I'm at and and how many more I should consume. And I'm like, why am I still hungry? Am I actually burning these calories, or like what's going on here? So, but yeah, sugar, was it harder to quit than cocaine?
Yeah, 100%. I don't do any cocaine at all anymore. I still eat sugar sometimes.
Oh, that's a fantastic way of putting it. I love that. Because people ask me all the time, they're like, you mean you have zero sugar? And I'm like, I eat peanut butter. So yeah, maybe I'll have 2 grams of sugar a day, but like, come on, man. Compared to the average American who eats like 40, 50 grams of sugar a day, you know,
Right.
like, holy crap, dude. But that was so hard, like physical withdrawals. I feel like it was what I don't know.
You get cranky. You're irritable. It's sugar is not a nutritional item. It is a drug.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I will die on that hill.
It acts on your brain very similar to the way most stimulants do. So, I mean, why not?
Comes with a high and a crash. It's a drug.
Speaking of caffeine,
yeah, I cut that out too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I was kind of aware of that, but
a couple of years ago.
I don't see you in the morning, so I don't get that, you know, memory trigger, you know. It's like, why aren't you drinking caffeine? Well, why would I be? It's 8:00 at night. Yes, indeed. So what do you do for fun?
For fun, not enough, if I'm being honest. Spend time with friends, video games if I'm wanting to be by myself is usually the fun activity. But I like being outdoors, going hiking, going camping. I got a buddy who's been wanting to get me kayaking, which I'm getting my back into a shape where I think I might be able to start doing that.
Hmm.
Wintertime, that's a tough one. I tend to get a little hermity in the wintertime and pessimistic. I've gotten back into reading lately, though. That was something I had given up for a long time. Or I'd noticed all I was doing was recovery material reading. I was just reading my basic text or other NA literature or whatever. So I've gotten back into reading things just for the enjoyment of it.
Right.
I do have my recovery stuff that I read. I've got my philosophy stuff that I read, and now I've incorporated just stuff for the enjoyment of it. So right now I'm reading the original Ninja Turtles comics, graphic novels, I should say.
Oh, okay. I was like, does that really count as reading? I mean, I didn't want to be that guy.
There's words and they're on pages in a book. I mean, so yeah, it sure does. There's some pictures in that book.
Hey, that's fine. Is it like the origin of the Ninja Turtles, or is it like, you know?
Yeah. Okay. It is. Well, it's starting out that way, but it's progressing into the other stories, and then it'll eventually be the last story, which is what happens after they're all dead except for one of them.
Okay, so does Shredder win then in the graphic novel?
No.
Okay, but they die of old age. I guess it's unimportant, but my curiosity is super.
No, they don't die of old age. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Just anybody who's watching this, go read the Ninja Turtles.
I'm just having flashbacks of the dam level on the NES. Oh my god, the Ninja Turtles that level. I never got very far in that game. Anyway,
I still have that game.
I mean, of course you do. The other night I was watching something random, and sometimes YouTube throws me like speedrunning videos, and it was some dude speedrunning that game, and I was like, nah, I've got to see this. And like he was walking through exactly how he was doing it, and I'm like, how are you able? And yeah, anyway, like anything else, I suppose, if you practice, and
right,
don't have anything better to do during COVID, I mean, I'm sure that's how a lot of these people ended up like that.
That's right. So that's what we can do for bird flu. Yeah. Is get real good at classic video games.
Is speedrunning. So you have to learn all the glitches too, like, the spots where you can like get through the wall somehow or whatever it is,
Right.
It's just like, okay. And I have no idea why the algorithm feeds me that stuff. Probably because I watch it when it does. But it's not something I've ever searched or looked for. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how it like was just like, hey, I bet you'd like speedrunning Ninja Turtles. It's kind of creepy in a way, because I mean, I did. But how did they know? Like, how did you know? Like,
they know.
I don't know. I've been going over the YouTube algorithm in my head here, and it's pretty. I don't get it. I don't think anybody does though. So I'm gonna Anyway, this is supposed to be about you. How much longer do you got?
Like 20-30 minutes.
Okay. Well, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to winter break. I'm looking forward to 4:30 today when I'm done with my internship for a few weeks. But past that,
yeah, I mean, what are you doing on break that you're looking forward to it? Besides nothing. I mean, that's what everybody's looking forward to when they're on break. But
going to be spending some time with family. I know we're going to do Christmas Day over with my grandma because we didn't get to last year. I know my wife awesomely gets 2 weeks off paid vacation from her job, so it'll be nice to just get to spend time and be present with her and get to go spend time with her parents as well. I know we have at least one thing on the books to go do with them. I'm going to do a lot of baking. That's something me and my dad do at Christmas time. He's also a baker like me. We love sweets. So doing all that, because it's also been a way of like giving gifts to family members and stuff. It always feels nice making something for somebody than buying something for me. So to be able to do that, it's really nice. And it's cold enough that I can justify having my oven turned on all day, every day.
It's funny. I knew about like all of the barbecuing that you do, but I guess I was totally unaware that you like to bake. And probably because I came into your life when you were quitting sugar. So
yeah, that pretty much did it. So yeah, these days I love baking for other people, which is really nice. I can't justify baking all the things that I like to bake for myself because like I love baking cakes, but a lot of my recipes are for sheet cakes. Like I would be like morbidly obese within a couple months if I just baked all the cakes I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
But getting to do it for other things, people have been asking me to do it. Some 12-step fellowships and our clubhouses asked me to bake cakes and things like that. So it's been nice just getting to do it for people and recovery events. So it'll be nice to get to do that with my dad this winter break.
Yeah. Get to baking them cakes. Is there anything like down the road that you're excited about, that you're looking forward to?
Thinking about possibly moving a very great distance away. Thinking about possibly Ireland. So that's something we're still working out, looking into, figuring out all the quirks and everything that would entail that. But that is something that we've been thinking about doing. So
is that something
looking forward to that
until you graduate, or?
Yeah, for sure. I would finish school here this spring semester and then continue my education at a university over there.
Okay.
Been looking into Dublin City University.
Interesting. So what kind of made you think about looking into that? Or do I have to ask?
I mean, you don't. The way of this hemisphere seems very questionable. So
yeah, it
seems like other places more align with values and beliefs that we have.
Right. And I would tend to agree. But I got kids here, and so here I am. Okay, well, we know what you do for fun. What's your favorite coping tool?
My favorite coping tool?
Yeah. What do you do sad specifically?
I call somebody. I have to. With my depression, with how I get, I'm not equipped to pull myself out of those things. But I at least know enough to know that I need to reach out to somebody at those times. When I'm left alone with my sadness for too long, I know what it turns into. So I have those people that I can reach out to and talk to. The therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel, and that's utterly true. So I call my sponsor, I call my wife. I call my sponsees, right? Because they have just as much to offer me as I have to offer them.
Sure.
But the biggest thing for me to get better is to just ask for help.
Therapist needing a therapist, man.
Every sponsor has a sponsor too.
The way of the world. Nobody's above it.
Absolutely.
Do you do art? I feel like you do art.
A little bit, not as much as I used to. I used to be a lot more into graffiti than I am now, but those fines get expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm an adult who's just going to go to jail, so I don't want to do that anymore.
I mean,
I could go get a piece of plywood and some paint and get to it, and I might get back to it in the spring. I do have a garage that I could do that with. I've gotten to my doodling. I like doing some adorable artwork for my wife. Mainly, I draw her adorable pictures of cartoon characters that she likes.
Doing weird things or just straight up?
Yes. Depends. One of them for her last birthday, I drew her a picture of BMO from Adventure Time, riding a skateboard, saying "You're hot like pizza supper," because that's a quote from it.
Okay.
Drawn kind of in anime style a little bit.
I see. I don't know what any of that is. So besides like anime style, but I mean the premise sounds absurd enough that I can appreciate it.
It's a living Game Boy character who's riding a skateboard saying somebody's hot like pizza supper.
Perfect.
Enjoy that mental image for the day.
I mean, the reality of it is like that's my sort of thing, as you know. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter whether or not I understand where the character is from. It's perfectly absurd enough for my taste. So,
yeah, I think so.
Oh man, I have so many in the chamber that I haven't sent to you. Some of them are so out there these days. I'm like, man, the algorithm's getting that part of my soul so correct these days. And I'm grateful for the algorithm and what it brings into my life.
Did a computer make you say that?
I mean, even if it did, I mean, I wouldn't say that it did.
Is Mark Zuckerberg there? Is the lizard king in the corner?
What are you doing back there, Elon?
Yeah, put that away.
Oh God, I'm not on Twitter, nor have I ever been on Twitter, and nor will I ever call it X.
That's right, it's Twitter.
I remember when social media was becoming popular. What was that? 2012, 2013? Was it before that? It might have been before that. I don't know. But we were all using Facebook, and back then, if you remember, Facebook was just farmland. And that joke's still funny. You know, Twitter became this thing, and it like started blowing up, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, you got to get Twitter," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I get Twitter, and I'm immediately like, "This is the worst of all humanity. This is going to be a cesspit of terribleness," and I immediately got off of Twitter because it was apparent to me from like the very beginning that this was going to be a lawless place of the dumbest things you've ever heard in your entire life. And Facebook thankfully evolved into that as well, but it's more mitigated because it's not like showing you people who you don't know's things. You know what I mean? You at least know these people. There's some sort of control over what you have. Twitter's just like, hey, it's like Reddit. Check out all this dumb shit, you know. But again, Reddit, it's like broken into subcategories. So you have to kind of look for the dumb shit unless you're like really super sadistic or, you know, into masochism. So you just like, you know, decide you want to go on the front page of Reddit and just see what's being upvoted today. But I'm good on that.
I mean, sometimes I do that, and then I don't do that for very long.
I mean, back when I didn't use Reddit again for a really long time. When it first came out, I like got on Reddit, and then I looked up, and it was like 7 o'clock the next morning. And I was like, oh, this is dangerous. I cannot do Reddit. And back then it was all memes. You know what I mean? It wasn't a useful tool like it is today. It's pretty useful. Actually, you find all sorts of useful stuff on Reddit. But like back then, it was like it was just, you know, 4chan for adults.
Yeah, the early days, it pretty much was that.
I mean, the internet in general.
It's a weird place.
You know what I find interesting is, I mean, you're not on social media, right?
Not really, no.
No. Have you been in the past?
Yeah.
like
Kinda.
obsessively.
Oh God, no.
See, it's like it's weird because Facebook specifically, um, it's like my section of the generation. You're a little bit younger than me, but those that age group from like 34 to like 50, we're the ones who do Facebook. And you see the old people on there, doing whatever they're doing. But generally speaking, the younger people, even today, aren't into Facebook. They're like, why would I? I mean, Instagram, sure, but that's taking pictures of yourself. It's just interesting to me that there's like this like 20-15 year gap of people who are just like, yeah, Facebook was our thing and that's our thing and that's what we do. Still, all of us obsessively to this day, 17 years later, apparently, according to my Facebook
Right?
memories, like, well, 15, but still, it's wild, man. Anyway, that's my rant.
It was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Well, somebody ought to. It's interesting. Analytically, people like to hear me rant, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
There you go. Give the people what they want, Mitchell.
When you're giving people what they want, what are you doing?
I genuinely have no idea.
What's something that people love that you do that you are unwilling to take credit for, and it can't be baking?
Everybody tells me I have all these leadership qualities that I don't see in myself. Oh, Getting a phone call. I will call you back, Dad.
Speaking of that,
right. But that for a long time, people have been telling me of the leadership qualities that I have and that I should take advantage of, and I don't see that in myself.
So when they say that, like, do they give you like examples of what they mean by that, or are they just like, "Hey, you'd be a great leader someday"?
They say it's how I carry myself, the way that I'm able to inspire other people to do things, to follow the cause that I'm championing at the time, I guess. The way I chair meetings has been brought up as a thing, or facilitate groups. So I've been given some examples, right? And I can objectively see that, I guess. I guess struggling with self-confidence is still a thing I haven't worked through in 4 years of recovery.
I feel that in my soul. I don't know if you've watched any of my content, but it's yeah, the struggle is real. I like the way you chair meetings because it's just matter of fact. There's no like extra like showmanship. I don't know if that's the word. Like a lot of these, but it doesn't matter because now I chair that meeting for over a year now, believe it or not, which is wild. Yeah, see, look there, you led me to the tables of NA and found me a niche where I actually feel like I fit in. So look at you go there, bud. How's that make you feel?
Feels nice.
Yeah. So maybe it's not so much that you're a leader as much as you're a placer. You're good at placing people where they need to be, both in their heads and physically, because you're a big dude and you can just move them.
That's true. To an extent. I don't have a very good back, so they can't weigh very much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was joking anyway. But I absolutely understand that. Like I was facilitating or hosting or whatever you want to call it in Smart Recovery last Saturday, and my good friend who chairs that meeting, he's very, very good at it. He's very good at feedback, the part of it where you have to be empathetical and understanding and like maybe give a little bit of cheeky advice. maybe not cheeky, but advice. And I always feel like I struggle, and like the whole time I'm like internalizing it and I'm running it around in my head. And then people at the end are like, dude, you're great. Why don't you have your own meeting? And it's like, I do. It's on Thursdays in a residential treatment center. You guys can come, but you know, you probably won't. So, but it's different because, you know, in an NA meeting, you're not expected to give feedback. You know what I mean? You're not
Right.
necessarily expected to give encouragement after each share. Where in a smart recovery, you know, setting, it's incumbent upon the facilitator to kind of give back and tell the person what they're doing good and the positive aspects of like what's going on with their life. And you know, even if that's just like, hey, you made it to a meeting, good for you, you know. So yeah, the struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently I'm good at that though, so yeah.
I see that.
um See, a lot of times when people say leadership, I go, okay, so you think I'm a prick. Because I'm good at telling you what to do, or people in general.
Right.
And you know, maybe I have a little bit of that too, but I don't see that as much from you unless like I feel like you would have to be pushed to a certain line before you're going to be like, you need to get in line.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's not as far away of a line as you might be thinking, but yeah.
Well, we don't have to interact in a professional landscape, so maybe that's part of it.
True.
Oh, I had a really good question. Oh yeah, why is it that every dude in recovery except for me has a beard?
Because you picked a mustache.
No, it's interesting to me that I did not get to pick my genetics because yeah, this wouldn't have been it. But no, it's I like a lot of dudes in recovery sport, you know, big beards or you know long hair. I've got the long hair. You have the beard. You had long hair. Why do you think that it is? Why do you have a beard? First off, we'll start there, and then why do you think it is that a lot of you know, men in recovery, especially the first few years anyway, grow their hair out?
Well, for me, it's sheer laziness, if I'm being honest. I grow, you've seen me in person. I grow a lot of hair all over the place very quickly. I get 5 o'clock shadow by 10 o'clock in the morning if I shave my face. And because I have so much of it, it breaks out really bad every time I shave. So fuck that. I'd rather just have a beard. It's easier to brush it once a day than go through that whole rigmarole. Other people, my guess as to why a lot of people grow out their hair, grow a beard, is it's a way to reinvent yourself really easily. You can look immediately different than how you've looked for a really long time. Because I've also seen a lot of people who have the long hair and beard before they come into recovery get rid of that shit when they show up.
Right.
I think it's just I want to be the new version of myself, and this is a quick way of getting there.
I was a very big fan of shaving my head when I was having the breakdown that would lead to recovery.
Yeah, see?
And yeah, I think you know, this last time I probably, I shaved it all off. So, I think that the shaving off, you know, in the Native American sense, it's like your memories and your feelings and all that is attached to your hair. And if you get rid of it, then you can release yourself of all of that, you know, suffering or whatever. I don't know if I believe that because I still continued to suffer until I, you know, did the work. But yeah, I guess I never looked at it as like growing it out because it changes my identity. I mean, I keep saying that I'm doing it because I can, and not every guy my age can. In fact, most guys my age can't. But then sometimes I like wake up and it's like all stringy and it's like, I'm old enough that it's thinning out a little bit. I'm like, man, what am I doing this for? Like, why am I like, but I like being able to tie it up. I feel like it gives me options. You know what I mean? I don't know. But at the same time, yeah, somebody the other day asked me if I use my hair to hide behind it. Because you know how I'll do it. I'll have it down
Mhm.
on my sides here with the hood up on my hat, and yeah, maybe there is an element to that. Maybe we grow it out because we still aren't convinced that we're worth anything, and it's easier to have one more layer of mask than it is to just be vulnerable to the whole world.
Nobody except Liz knows what my face looks like.
Well, I mean, your parents probably.
Well, yeah. I meant like besides like family members who birthed me.
Right. Is there a reason you keep it so long?
Laziness.
Okay.
This is where my beard stops growing. I haven't trimmed it in a couple of years. This is just where it stops. Fun fact: everybody has a place where their beard naturally stops growing. This is the sad length that mine stops growing. I wish it would grow longer. Honestly, I want to be able to tuck it into my belt like a dwarf on a quest. But I will never.
Far too tall to be a dwarf.
A vertically challenged dwarf. But yeah, no, it's simply laziness. I would have to put in the effort of trying to trim it or pay somebody to shape my beard for me. I don't have the steady enough hand where I have the confidence putting sharp shit next to my face on my own. It's simply I can brush it and go about my day.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to ask Nick that same question, but I'm going to assume. I'm not going to assume anything. I will never be able to grow a beard, so that's just part of my story.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just not allowed for everybody, I think, is what it is. We'll never know if it was for me or not because it will never be a thing. I do have some glorious sideburns though, but that's
Got some chops.
Literally the extent of my beard. My hair does not grow here. There's no hair that grows here. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. What are your thoughts on spirituality? I know a lot of people, myself included, struggle with this topic. I was thinking about making it the topic for the podcast this weekend, which will come out before this, actually. How do you reconcile a higher power in a world that doesn't appear to have a God?
Well, spirituality and religion are different. I'm not somebody who subscribes to religion myself, but I can subscribe to spirituality. The way that it was presented to me that made the most sense is spirituality is just that interconnectedness living beings feel with one another. It's that feeling I can be halfway across the world surrounded by nothing but strangers. I don't know a single person and don't speak that language, but if I see somebody hurt on the ground, my innate sense is I want to help this person. That's spirituality, that interconnectedness. That's the spirituality we're talking about in 12-step fellowships, is us coming together and feeling this connectedness with each other where we can move forward and heal together. That's what spirituality is to me. So that's why I look more into like Taoism and certain philosophies more than religions for my spiritual guidance. And the higher power thing, that was something I struggled with in the beginning a lot too. I hated religion. I had a chip on my shoulder about God. Christians ran me away from Christianity. I had that chip on my shoulder. The way my sponsor put it to me was to focus on the wording, and a lot of times what's worded for us in our fellowship is a power greater than ourselves. Me and you sitting here talking about recovery is much greater than either one of us sitting by ourselves in our house alone. Me going to a meeting is a power much greater than myself to move forward. So for me, a higher power, a power greater than myself, is simply me working with anybody else in recovery.
Interesting. I can dig it.
That's what works for me.
Beautiful.
Because I don't believe in some bearded white guy on a cloud judging all of us for doing stuff that he designed us to do. that doesn't work for me.
What? Why has he got to be white?
He doesn't. That's just how it was always presented. Jesus was born in Jerusalem a couple thousand years ago, but he's a blonde, blue-eyed white guy on most church walls.
I mean, yeah, we have the Catholics to thank for that one. I don't want to start a rant about Christianity.
No, that was not my intent either.
No, but you know how easy it is to get into one. I think that's one of the biggest misnomers about 12-step, at least NA. There's a lot of AA groups that I've been a part of where it's like, higher power, but wink, wink, we mean, you know what we mean.
Who I choose to call God, yeah.
Yeah, and so, it's... I guess I don't know how to put it into words. It's hard to explain to a newcomer that they don't need to find Jesus to find a program.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that for me, that's where I find the most fulfillment is showing people that it doesn't have to be a church service, that it can be something where you're just vulnerable with the group and we all take what we can from it and go about our day, So, yeah. I want to thank you again for introducing me to my version of NA.
My pleasure.
It was what was missing out of my life at that point.
Can you hold on just a second, Mitchell?
I mean, I can always hold on. I'm gonna. Anyway, I forgot to have you sign a waiver, but I'm allowed to use any of this recording.
Well, here's my verbal signature, Mitchell. Use away.
Oh, okay, perfect. So like, that was such a good thought process about spirituality. How are some ways that you deal with annoying people that you can't get away from, like people at work or your internship, or maybe that one person at a meeting that you frequent that you just how do you circumvent the rage? Maybe rage isn't a good call for you, but me personally, it turns into this so
I've started singing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song in my head. And I've actually been caught by a couple people at meetings doing it because they'll see me moving my head back and forth as I'm singing the song, so they know I'm doing that. I guess it's not perfect. I have allowed people to annoy me to the point where I've left groups. I've stopped going to meetings. I've chased myself out of the rooms. And that's not healthy. That's not what I should be doing. So the way I've figured out now to deal with those things is I sing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song in my head. If I do that enough times, I can't be mad. It's impossible to be mad singing that song. And I know all the words to it, so I can actually sing it in its entirety.
How long does that take?
It's only like a 35-second song, so not.
But it's like that old that adage when you're in super early recovery where they're like, if you can make it 30 seconds or whatever, then you've made it past that moment where you're fixated. So I mean, I was just thinking that that's probably long enough to like just get you over that fixation.
I've never had to sing it more than 3 times in a row.
It's if we were in that same situation and in the same room together, you would be singing that, and I would just be like, "This motherfucker."
I'm sure you'll catch me doing it eventually.
Unbelievable. I was saying in the podcast last week, I realized that I was doing the finger grounding without even realizing it because I was dissociating from somebody's terrible share. And I was like, oh my God, I was like bringing myself back to the present because I was just about to be like, off in space. And I try not to dissociate when I just don't care, but sometimes it's hard.
It is.
Because I just don't care about so many things. Yeah. So are you involved in any community stuff outside of the program and working in residential?
Not too much. I do volunteer down at the clubhouse I go to for meetings.
That's not really outside the program.
Then no. I spend most of my time doing that. I guess it's a different program. It's not NA. It's all of them at the clubhouse. But no, I with the amount of time that I spent sponsoring and chairing meetings and doing my internship, I don't really have time to branch out much further.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like to ask because, sometimes people just throw me a curveball and are like, oh yeah, hang out down at the food pantry or whatever, and it's always kind of cool to hear that. Yeah, I haven't put that much effort into service work in a long time. Maybe I should when it's done being cold. Picked a perfect time of year to not want to go help, but I always find that I feel better for it when I do. So
right.
Maybe one day when you have free time again, that will be a day that you have free time.
One day. And I'm always open to doing other things, right? I'm so busy that I don't go looking for extra service commitments at this point, but
sure.
If somebody were to present me with something I could help with, I'm almost always on board.
Yeah. Well, you helped organize that whole thing downtown earlier this year, didn't you?
That was that was Liz's thing. I just helped with it.
Right. But I mean, it was still a big thing outside of yourself. So anyway,
yeah.
Take a little bit of credit there, buddy. Take a little bit of credit. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I feel woefully unprepared. I had a list of things in my head that I wanted to talk about, but I feel like we kind of touched on them. Is there anything that you want to throw out there to the world that words of encouragement or like a intention that you're going to throw out to YouTube so that the digital gods may like send it back in whatever form, or even just a heart reaction in the comment section?
If one thing in recovery doesn't work, try something else. There's no one right way to do it. 12-step, the way I do it, does not have a monopoly on recovery. If you try one thing and it doesn't work, keep trying. The one thing that we do say in 12-step fellowships is don't quit before the miracle happens. It's true. It took me a while to find my place in recovery and find my way in the world, but it happened. Don't quit before it happens. If you stick with recovery, if you try different avenues, if you keep moving forward, it will eventually happen.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Just my experience.
I know so many people who give up and then they give up and then they give up and then they give up. And I was one of them for a really long time. I am a very, as you know, fervent table pounder of like, just do the damn work and it will get better. But I didn't do the work forever, and that's why I pound the table about it now, because it's like, look, as soon as I
Right?
did the work, then I saw results, and it's the reason I didn't see results before is because I didn't do any of the work. I
Mm-hmm.
thought just going to meetings was going to be enough to make my life different, and it's not at all, because you're not changing anything except for what your addiction is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, um, I appreciate you being here, taking this time to have a conversation with me.
I
Um,
appreciate you having me.
yeah, and I'm glad that you feel well enough to do it. Last week was rough for a number of people that I know, and yeah, I'm glad you feel better.
Me too.
Anyway, um, hi, so everybody out there, if you have made it this far through my rambling interview style, I certainly appreciate it if you would give us a like and maybe subscribe. And
Mm.
if you are really interested, you could comment and let me know what you love about Russ, so that he has more things to put into his gratitude notebook.
Or what you love about Mitchell.
Sure, if you want. It's entirely up to you. Or tell us if you hate it. I'm okay with that too.
Just call Mitchell. I'm sensitive.
There's no such thing as bad interaction on YouTube. Um,
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Yeah, so I guess we'll end there. I will see you later, Russ. All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you.